don't believe in chemtrails. I don't live in Truthville. Just because you saw it on the screen doesn't make it real. I don't take the red pill, I don't take the blue pill. I just choose to follow my dreams out of hooks and chill. I step off the world stage and I've moved away from all the fake outrage and the hearsay. And I don't give the time of day to those what they say, cause they got a bad case of the mind age. I've stepped away from the game entirely. I won't be caught up in the lame dichotomy. I've stepped away from the cage entirely. I'm free today. My mind's been saved by reading autohoaxology. Out of the control.
All right, good evening, everyone. I better get going and not play the music all night, even though it's a great song. It's Thursday, January the 16th, 2025. We're a little late tonight due to technical glitches. I hate the word glitch, so I'll use it. And this is a super packed joint show tonight. We have the IPS Monster audience on with its eclectic and very famous host, Tim Ozman. So let me say hi real quick to Tim Ozman.
Hey, thanks for having me again. Good time to catch up since we just passed another milestone, another year of PSYOPs already beginning. So thanks for having me on.
Oh, thank you for agreeing to come on. We should really do a more regular show, I think. I'm, as you know, well, wait, let me introduce the co-host of tonight, Frank the Salt Guy. Let me be polite. Frank is hailing from Geelong, Australia, and he's usually here on Thursday. So I would never boot Frank just for another guest, but Frank always adds rather than what is the IPS term? He is MSM plus, not MSM minus. I think that's what it is. Tim Osmond, you have a term.
Here's what I would say. If you think that the primary, I guess, I'm not going to say enemy, but the primary thing we're confronting that we always talk about, is it A, the military industrial complex, or is it B, the PSYOP entertainment complex? And if you think that it's mostly the military industrial complex, you're MSM plus, meaning you're adding on to the world stage's established version of things with other things like conspiracies. And the MSM minus position says, no, actually, we're confronting mind war, and it's the PSYOP entertainment complex. So most people who are considered truthers are what I would call MSM plus.
All right. Well, that is to say, I want to say that Frank does add to the conversation, and I appreciate him being here. And yeah, Tim Osman, I am a patron of Tim Osman, as everyone should be. He provides the most consistent and best content when it comes to discussing the psyops and the hoaxes of the day. So as long as he is on point, I will continue to listen, and he does create quite a bit of content on Substack, on Odyssey, at IPS.monster. That's his hub. And on there, you can find just about every single link to every one of his sites. And he is all over the place. I won't even begin to start listing all the links because they're all at IPS.monster. And that's the only link you need to know. And that's the only place you should go. But I'll continue to plug good content creators. And even though none of us agree 100% on everything that we create, I think I always would like to emphasize there's enough overlap. So let's concentrate and celebrate the overlap and not go on about the differences, because there's enough overlap that we can promote and keep talking about it. So that's
you've become just like the Pope, Tim. You're an ecumenical person.
Oh, don't make me look up another word. What exactly does that mean? What does that mean to you?
We're all going to have one religion. We all love each other. We'll all have one religion.
Oh, well, okay. This is not okay. What do you think of that concept, IPS, that we should just try and concentrate on the overlaps and not get bogged down in the differences and just blow everything up?
Yeah, for me, it's a trajectory thing. Like, if we're all legitimately seeking facts and truth and the best answers, we're going to arrive at the same place if we're doing it honestly. So it doesn't matter if we don't have total agreement. As long as we're on the same trajectory. And in my opinion, and this is what I've arrived at in the last few years, is that the military industrial complex is a fiction of the PSYOP entertainment complex. They control us from the mind down. It's not primarily threats to our body. So I want to emphasize that in my contention here is that the military industrial complex is a subset or a fiction of the mind war. And that's why we have the fake nuke scenario to talk about. It's like, well, if you need any more evidence of this, just look at how the construct of this mutually assured destruction is reshaping everything. Our entire worldview has been reshaped on behalf of it. So I think it's safe to say that the PSYOP entertainment complex is the one thing that we're all ultimately confronting.
Yeah, I agree.
I can't argue with that.
I agree 100%. And just so everyone knows, we are streaming all over the place tonight. Tim and I both have X accounts, so we're streaming there. I'm on D Live, so is Tim, so is IPS. I'm on YouTube, and IPS is on 3 different YouTube channels, and he's also on Twitch. I can't stay on Twitch. I keep getting kicked off, and I most recently was blown off TikTok. And I know you, Tim Ozman, were trying to get on TikTok. Are you successfully on TikTok still?
I was streaming on TikTok, but then they just kicked me off for no reason. I don't even care. Twitch gets 0 traffic. I use it for archiving, but it literally gets no traffic. And when I did get traffic, I got banned. But the reason why I'm on every single platform I can be on is because no one single platform will ever be reliable. And you've always been an exponent of creating your own platform.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that is where we have to go anyway, because what we're doing is just out of bounds. You know, we're committing thought crimes, pretty much.
This is the ultimate hate speech.
I would say you're committing thought.
Thought, yes. I just translated that. Thought for all the North American audience. Yes, I agree. And you brought up the nuclear point, and I wanted to say that just recently we've been getting more and more people speculating on what nuclear power plants are. If the whole idea of nuclear science is fake, then we're really trying hard to figure out what is going on at nuclear power plants, because they are promoting that all the time. And the latest research, which I find fascinating, is that they're voltage regulators. So they're giant plants, but they have giant flywheel systems, which are a real thing, and they're integral to regulating power to keep the power very even. And in the wake of green energy, it's primarily wind and solar, which is extremely unreliable and extremely flaky and extremely surge, on, off, high, low, very hard to regulate. They need a way to even out these bursts of power. And
Yeah.
I find the flywheel argument fantastic, and it actually makes tons of sense. The only thing that's wrong about them not admitting it is they extract billions of dollars for running very simple mechanical flywheel plants. So there's a very large grift on top of a very basic engineering model to regulate and even out power. Have you ever heard of that, Tim Osman?
I've heard things like that, and it seems more likely the truth than not. It seems like the power elite are really adept at taking the natural things and then mystifying it in such a way that they can monopolize it.
Yes.
And that's their standard operating procedure, no doubt.
Yes, absolutely. So they
To
have
give credit to Ray West, he's been pushing that view for a long, long time now, 10 plus years.
So he actually mentioned the word flywheel?
I don't know if he meant, well, I don't know if he has mentioned the word flywheel. I'll have to check it. But
I'm going to say he said dump load facility, which is different.
Yes. Yeah.
But I don't think a dump load is the same as a voltage regulating.
But a dump load effectively just means that you're finding a place to put your excess power and recover it.
Oh, I just assumed they were just dumping it, just boiling it off into nothing.
Oh, maybe. Okay. All right. That may be different. Yep.
But the whole idea about the flywheel is an excellent storer of short-term energy.
But I am guessing as well, Tim, that the flywheel idea may have only just been implemented recently, because with the coal-fired plants of old,
Hmm.
you did simply dump the excess, but now they're probably wanting to look to store things. So perhaps the flywheel is a modern. I mean, it's a natural place to hide.
Maybe it's part of the upgrading because they're always upgrading the nuclear
They're
power
always
plants
upgrading.
where I live.
Yeah. So I would suggest to you that the if flywheels are going in, that's a fairly recent thing. Although it was a very old way of storing power. The Swiss used to have trams that ran on gyros.
Okay. All right, let's get back to IPS because he's the special guest. Can you tell us what are you doing? What's your latest research? We have so many psyops. It's only January the 16th. We've got the biggest show on earth coming up on January 20th at 12 p.m. Have you been very busy keeping track of the
I've got a
psyops?
question for you, Tim Osman.
Go ahead.
Do you think that the president-elect will get to be president?
That's a good question. If we go off of the movie Civil War, he will, but there's going to
Okay.
be a some kind of a conflagration later, and I'm just basing it off of predictive programming. And just to kind of underscore this point, at the end of December, I was highlighting the trailer for the movie Homestead, which has Los Angeles getting nuked. And interestingly enough, the devastation in Los Angeles has been compared to a nuke by Jay Leno, by Donald Trump, and this is all how they paint the zeitgeist. And I'm suggesting that it's like this movie's in the theaters as it's happening. So movies have been a pretty good indicator on the next plot twist. And
Agreed.
when we look at the stuff with Trump and him and getting the second term, it looks like it's going to be very contentious. But as far as will he get in, it seems to be that yes. However, there's going to be some kind of thing. And if you go off the movie Civil War, it's the big schism here. So we're going to see. But I think that everything will likely go smoothly this week.
Okay.
And just before the show, I was watching one of my favorite youthful YouTubers. I've spent some time on YouTube in the last little bit and supporting some of the content creators there. I'm watching this young guy named Nick Shirley wander around America looking at all the homeless encampments. And now he's in Greenland wandering around talking to the Greenlanders because one of the most famous things Trump said in the last 2 weeks is he wants to buy Canada and buy Greenland. And one thing Trump is really good at is stirring up trouble, which I actually like. I think it's entertaining. So is there I know that's not really hoax talk. But it's still media content. So
Sorry, why isn't it hoax talk?
well, I there's no real psyop involved that I can think of.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think, Tim Osman? What do you think there's anything predictive program or hoaxy about that?
I see a lot of the hardcore nonners, the QAnoner types are reading a lot into it. They have a lot of hope for this stuff. I think it's Donald Trump being a provocateur, a heel, and a troll, and he's really good at that. That's his main superpower, if you ask me. And he's actually kind of funny. I do read his rants on his Truth Social, and he's a comedian as well as a magician.
Wow. What more do you want? Yeah, I'm not on Truth Social. Do you recommend that?
Hell no. I just get screen caps of his postings on X. It's a disaster, but it's not as bad as some of the other ones like Getter and Parler that came up to replace Twitter. But no, I don't recommend it, but I do follow all of his postings and his rantings, and it is quite funny. He hasn't changed in that regard.
And you find that the screen caps are on X? Is there any particular person that's screen capping them, or you just find random people?
I get it from Trump fans, and I get it from outraged libs.
Okay.
So both sides are always posting and reacting, and that's all he does is he gets reaction after reaction. And isn't it interesting that he was talking to Joe Rogan months ago, and they're both being credited more or less with predicting fire in California, but their prediction was based on government negligence, malfeasance, rather than climate change, which is what the left is saying. But it's interesting here how, to me, that alone, him and Joe Rogan talking about this thing just shows you these guys are actors. And even their conversations in these podcasts constitute foreshadowing and predictive programming. narrative establishment, like long before the event, and it works. It works like a charm.
So while I've got you on that topic, what's your view of the auto hoax aspect of the houses burning but the trees not?
That may be a bit of truth or bait. I have to look into it, because whenever I see comments from people on this, they're saying, well, this is evidence of a dew, it looks off, but it may have to do with the trees and how much moisture they have in them. I don't know. I would need to talk to somebody who's more versed in fire science before I reach into any kind of explanation involving direct energy weapons or something else.
So
My
is
belief,
it possible that it's just a hoax film, that they're allowing the trees to be there just in film, but in reality they're not there? Or
I'm not exactly sure how they pull this off. I mean, I'm not denying that there were fires, but I'm looking at this thing mostly as a controlled demolition, controlled burns, and mostly a big panic attack. I mean, they were sending out fake panic notices. So the panic is huge. You have all these celebrities hyping it up. And then there's people sharing videos of the Hollywood sign burning, and it's very apocalyptic. And now there's today people going out there freaking out saying the Hollywood sign is perfect. It's fine. It didn't burn. So some people are noticing, wait, the version of events we get through the screen do not comport with reality. So at this point, I'm just very skeptic about direct energy weapons. I think more than likely we're dealing with a controlled burn, if anything. And as far as real people
but
being
are you
victimized,
skeptical that the image are you skeptical that it's possible that the images of the trees being okay and the houses burned are fake as well? Is that possible?
I sure there's certain levels of it that could be fake. There's a lot of places where they could certainly insert fake footage. A lot of theater is involved here. No doubt about that. That's what the PSYOP entertainment complex does, is it exaggerates existing things. Like when they show us fire nados, it's probably fake. But as far as like homes being burned, yeah. And I'm like, this is a different type of PSYOP, where most PSYOPs, it's just simulation. But this is like a natural occurring event that they're just adding on top of. And so I'm not sure if they're exacerbating the fire itself or if they're just adding drama to an existing catastrophe. But
Yeah.
I kind of think that's what they're doing. I think they're adding drama to an existing catastrophe.
Yeah, I just posted the latest article by Miles Mathis, and I think he's bang on. Basically, he says this is just the super rich eating the rich because they've already devoured the middle class. There's just bones to pick over now, and now it's a question of the ultra rich just clearing out the super rich. And I thought that was fantastic. He was also saying he can't.
So by implication, Miles Mathis is saying it's a real event and that people have really been harmed by it.
It's a real event. It's just straight up arson. They're just burning them out like they did with Lahaina, as they
Okay.
probably did with Gaza. And he says he can't even get verification on the wind speed. He doesn't believe that the winds when this started were 100 miles an hour. And he can't even get past data for Pacific Palisades from Weather Underground, which is a pretty big website that
Well,
archives
it was
data.
interesting. I thought that Jungle Surfer posted a video showing, obvious elements of fakery going on with the videos that have been.
Yeah.
And so if there's some element of, as far as he's concerned, once there's elements of fakery,
Yeah.
he's just writes it off. That's reasonable, I think.
Yeah, and the whole area is blocked off.
Yeah.
And you can't get in. It's barricaded. And sorry, Tim Ozman, go ahead.
No, this is exactly what Miles Mathis said in this specific article you have here. Is he said that you shouldn't get your news from celebrities. And when I first saw this thing, I see the guy from Police Academy, Steven Gutenberg, talking about saving lives, moving cars. And then I'm like, wait, this is the guy from Lavalantula saving Los Angeles from giant tarantulas spewing lava. And I thought, this is a celebrity-driven psyop. And then we have James Wood bawling, crying, because his house is burning down, which I understand, it's sad. But then we find out his house didn't burn. And so Miles Mathis has been vindicated, saying, don't listen to these celebrities. Then I see Paris Hilton crying about her house, but she keeps on talking about how that's where she raised her son, Phoenix, and they're going to rise from the ashes. And I'm just thinking, okay, there's enough fakery and drama that I don't think this is like legitimate enough for me to really take it like as 100%, like this is a real disaster.
Yeah. What else would you expect from Hollywood? It's they're gonna make this quite a show. I put this quote up on Fakeologist Forums, fakeologistforums.com. Miles says, I've told you many times before of this war between very rich and the super rich and how it has gotten much worse in the past 50 years. Why? Because the super rich have already stolen almost everything they can from the middle class. We are tapped out. The only target they have left for pillage is the very rich. So you have the billionaires and trillionaires now eating the 100 millionaires. It was bound to happen. We know it happens with companies. It is called monopolization. Oh my goodness, has it ever been bad in the last 20 years, monopolization? Over the long term, all the money tends to flow up and congregate in fewer hands, but it also happens with families and individuals, and it happens with increasing speed as the middle class dies. I just thought that was bang on because that really agrees with what I'm seeing in general, with companies just swallowing up other companies, creating mega companies, which it should be illegal if you ask me. But anyway,
Well,
Well, in fairness, none of those mega companies actually make any money. They borrow so much money to buy the companies. None of it can possibly be
well, I'm not sure I agree with that.
justified on the numbers.
Amazon doesn't buy other companies. They just put other companies out of business. Sorry,
speaking
Sue.
of money, climate change
Mhm.
is being blamed. Like this is the general consensus. Climate change caused this. So there's gonna be a fight. Was it climate change, or was it government negligence? Was it Newsom? Was it illegal immigrants? So there's like this left-right dichotomy over what caused it, and that's what they're going to be fighting. But climate change is being accepted. And if you think about it, what does the climate change really do? It justifies the government raising taxes and regulation. In other words, property theft, or rather, it's about property control. Ultimately, climate change or climate science, this whole narrative is there to take control of the private sector. So if you look at this whole thing in that context, it makes sense. It's all about the property.
Yeah,
The only thing worth any money is land. They don't make any more of it.
agreed.
And I thought that the mainstream alternative media was going overboard with trying to crowbar every single possible conspiracy into this story. Like they added every possible thing. Dues, the blue roofs, you name it. They were just
Drones,
drones right there.
yeah, drones, illegal immigrants. They had aliens. I heard some people saying it was aliens. Then, but you had all these different narratives that are what I consider MSM plus. So they're assuming this is the worst fire ever, and they add on all these crazy explanations. And I'm like, don't believe anything. Subtract, subtract, subtract until you get down to facts. And then here you have a very popular, the former editor of Breitbart, Milo Yiannopoulos, sharing an image of the Hollywood sign burning, and he's like, I live close by this. And so his followers are all panicking. Oh, this is so real. And then it turns out that this Hollywood burning sign is pure AI. And so you can see how the news narrative is being driven by rumor and panic, just like it was with the drones. So they can convince the country or the world that we're being invaded by drones, and all of them turn out to be airplanes. Then how easy is it to get average people to exaggerate something and add their own footage? So it's almost like people are collaborating with the PSYOP entertainment complex without even knowing it.
Yes, absolutely. So that's the fires in California. So I suppose this story will take us right up to inauguration unless they insert something else. But it has been a very busy year. It started off with New Orleans on January 1st at 3 in the morning. I woke up at 7 on New Year's Day, and I was already getting a phone call saying, "Have you heard what's going on in New Orleans?" Like I should worry. So I didn't even have the computer turned on. So it started really quickly. And then right after we had the Cybertruck in Las Vegas, which looked like it was just a simple CGI insert. Oh, did you cover those things?
Yeah, I was looking at that one for a few reasons. One interesting element of that is they said he was using AI to
Mhm.
help structure his attack. They've said this for a few different neo-Nazi types as well. They're using AI to learn how to shut down the power grid. But with the Cybertruck guy, they said he was a Green Beret. So I'm like, oh, that's interesting. A Green Beret going after a CEO, Musk. Then you had Luigi and going after the CEO. And Luigi, you think of the character with the green beret, the green hat, and then he's been associated with the Joker with the green hair. So I've been correlating the symbolism of the shooter with the green hair, the Joker, the anti-CEO rhetoric as a concerted messaging. So there is some element to it here, and it has to do with this antagonism towards the rich that is being highlighted and even encouraged.
Yeah.
Now, if anyone wants to follow Infinite Plane, his thought, his note taking, you used to use Minds. Are you still using Minds? Yes, you are, I think.
Oh, yes. Oh, in
Minds
fact,
is
look at that one
where
there. Just today, Elon Musk sent Starship 33 up, and what happened? It exploded spectacularly. It looks like a scene out of Megalopolis.
was that created with AI? Do we have any video, or is that just a still?
This was viewed by people, I think it's over the Caribbean. So yeah, they did their fireworks show. So the space program does fireworks and CGI. If it's out of sight, out of mind is CGI, but within full view of the public, they will do special effects that are kind of compelling. But we all got to see that.
Looks like a painting. You're an artist, so
Yeah, it looks like Francis Ford Coppola's art director did this because it looks like the scene from when the Russian satellite hits New York. And I mentioned that movie because it's recent and it's about the fall of the Roman Empire, make Rome great again. And he said, this is about events that are going to happen soon. So it has this intimation of an attack from Russia on New York, another 9/11. But it's interesting because Gladiator 2 just came out, which also has the theme of the Roman Empire falling. And when we have Trump in the picture in Megalopolis, he corresponds to the character Caesar. And one of the things we do on my channel is we frequently look at how you have characters in movies who are, I call them predictive programming proxies for people on the world stage, like Robert De Niro, who played that senator who's basically Trump when he got shot. Well, Robert De Niro's in a new movie now called Ground Zero that's about to come out, and he's playing a former president, and there's a huge cyber attack that shuts everything down. So I'm looking at the movies very closely these days. Nothing surprises me because it's a predictive model. If you look at media itself as a form of entrainment to future fake news.
yes.
Are you familiar with Into the Stars? He runs on that premise as well.
Who is
I'm
in stars?
no, fill me in.
There is a YouTuber called Enter the Stars, and his body of work, 10 plus years, is entirely on the predictive programming of television shows and movies.
Okay, we're gonna look that up.
Yeah, so basically what I'm suggesting is this, that the same people who organized the psyops that we experience in the news on the world stage, that their hands are also in these various media companies at high levels that produce movies, video games, novels, etc. So it's the influence of government. So in other words, predictive programming is government propaganda. It's that simple. We don't have to add in simulation theory. We don't have to add in warlocks and revelation of the method. It's as simple as it's government propaganda. And our analysis has demonstrated that the entertainment is synchronized with the news, specifically with the fake news events that are about to happen. And so another show I watched recently is called The Madness, which is about going crazy from internet memes and getting violent. Well, The Madness on Netflix predicted Luigi. It predicts the rise of Elon Musk in the shadow of Trump and his influence. It predicts the 3D printed gun used to kill the CEO. And all of its main characters relate to real people. And I think it's weird that you have someone like Laura Loomer who gets killed in the movie as a Lauren Summers. And I'm like, does she not know that her likeness is being used in movies as part of this propaganda effort? And they don't ever respond to it, which to me is highly suggestive of it is integrated and they don't want to draw attention to it because these aren't mere coincidences. So I look very closely at so-called predictive programming, and it is not a random anomalous thing, but it's actually systemic, and it's part of the structure of what media is.
All right. Okay, here is a new movie. This is Enter the Stars. I'll put a link to it in the show notes. A new movie, Trump's Palantir Police State in plain sight. Have you heard of this one, Tim?
No, but I can't wait because Call of Duty 2
Yeah.
drones.
Enter the stars. And something very strange is happening in the 1990s.
Sounds like Dave J, but this is not Dave J, I don't think, right? You gotta be worried there.
Film called Escape from LA released, and it was all about fire tornadoes engulfing Los Angeles. In fact, there were mass deportations. People were denaturalized in the film as well.
It's a
They
very
had their
big YouTube channel, 121,000 subscribers.
It's a big channel. One of the things he's talking about there, the denaturalization. Sweden has actually just started putting in legislation to do that.
Tell me, what is that?
So, in fact, I just got a message from FAK this morning with an
Okay.
article that the Swedish government is setting up denaturalization of. Oh no, it wasn't. Sorry, it wasn't FAK, but it was from the normal news. So the Swedish government is going to denaturalize people that they think are enemies of the state.
So they're gonna lose their Swedish citizenship.
Yep.
Okay, I get you. All right.
So it's a thing. Predicted
Wow.
already.
Well, this is a new channel, Tim, for you to maybe add to your arsenal.
Yeah, now that I think about it, I've come across him before, but I've never seen him. I've never seen this. I've seen his content relating to like the flat Earth and stuff, but I'm glad to see it. You know, like we talk about agreement here. I don't agree with the interpretation people have for predictive programming, like 99%, but I do appreciate the research and the pattern recognition because we're all
Yeah.
looking at the same phenomenon, but we're trying to arrive at the best explanation for what it really is. So I always like finding
Well,
channels like this.
we all come from our own filter. So his filter is, you know, he's awaiting the second coming of Jesus Christ. I'm also have the sort of Christian view, but I'm in the different part. And from what I understand, you're not an acceptor of the Christian story at all. But with these filters, we view these events differently.
Yes, and so for example, someone hit me up the other day. They said, "Look at Call of Duty 2." Call of Duty 2, I think it came out like 13 years ago, and it's set in 2025, and it's got social media driving the news, and it's got drone invasions everywhere. So one thing I think we can look forward to this year, and Enter the Stars kind of points at this, is drones are now a thing. And Palantir had a commercial at that Navy game where Trump was with Daniel Penny and JD Vance, and there was a Palantir commercial there, and that was at the height of the drone hysteria. So I think that drones are a thing to look forward to this year, and so I'll check out his channel.
We've been getting a lot of comments. There's 171 people, mostly from IPS, on this combined joint stream, which I'm always grateful to talk to the IPS crew and welcome them over to Fakeologist if anyone wants to contribute on our site. We have a Discord, we have forums, we have a blog, we have open comments. And so if, of course, anyone wants to join us and feed us information, certainly welcome to. IPS Think Tank is on Discord. And I think do you have to be a member or a patron of IPS to get onto your Discord?
No, Discord, go to ips.monster and jump right in. No barriers. I'm really trying to maintain an open platform because we need to expand the number of people who have our level of insight into the fakery. Because if you're not thinking about the fakery, or if you're not aware of it, your assessment of the news is going to be skewed and it's going to be wrong. And your worldview is going to be a lot scarier. So we are correct. We may not have all the right answers or believe all the right things, but we are absolutely correct as far as including fakery as something to consider when we're examining what's happening in the world. That's one of the big secrets, I think, is keeping the fakery disguised. And that's why they have all these very attractive and compelling conspiracy theories. The conspiracy theories hide the fakery for the most part.
Now you've been doing this for a long time. When did you start really discussing this topic, fakery and media hoaxes, auto hoaxing? Do you know?
Right. I would say it was right after Vegas. It became my primary focus when I realized that you had people from InfoWars like Joseph Paul Watson who were
Yeah.
specifically outgrouping people who called it fake. They
Mhm.
said, "Don't call it fake. Get out of here, auto hoaxers." And I was like, "Wait a minute here. If it is fake, this has huge implications because it means that the bipartisanship is fake when it comes to media. It means that there's top down control. It involves government, entertainment, politicians. It involves the Homeland Security. And then you got the hospitals and the police and the schools. So these are huge operations if fake. And nobody wanted to touch that. So I would say Vegas is what turned me in this direction because the Vegas event caused YouTube to restructure how they allowed people to report on the news. So fake news, you couldn't call it fake. And when I realized that no, this is no longer about truth or facts or informing people, it's about conforming them to prefabricated fake events, I was like, nope, this is my focus. The fakery has to be primary.
And do you think this is just mainly entertainment, or are we doing a public service? Do you think we have to, or you have to make great advances or great discoveries, or what keeps you carrying on with the research? What motivates you?
Oh, what motivates me on this is that we have a think tank of people who aren't being influenced by the propaganda, and if we don't self-segregate and quarantine, we're just going to be drowned out with all the brainwashes. And I find that interacting with people at this level of awareness who are paying attention is intrinsically rewarding. I've met so many deep thinkers, philosophers, artists, and musicians in the last few years that it's just totally enriched my life. And we're examining this somewhat dispassionately, but we're tremendously entertained and intrigued by it. So I think that it is worth doing because we're not fighting a fake fight. We're not tilting at windmills. We're not fighting the info war, but we're engaging in philosophy, which needs to happen because our epistemology collectively has been screwed by media. Our perceptions are being warped. So I think it's timely. And I have every incentive to continue with this. Even if I made no money, I would be doing this from a van down by the river. Like it's that rewarding.
So just helping people in general relieve themselves of the pressure of the fake news, just having a place for them to go is reason enough for
Well,
you
it's
to
mind
keep doing
expanding. It's mind
it.
expanding because when I say our epistemology, I mean how we process information has been screwed up to where we become media dominant and then meat verse secondary, and I think that's a problem. Now, I'm not saying get out of the metaverse and run back to nature, but I'm saying no, remain in nature, but don't let them put their Truman Show in your head. And once you've made that step and you've recognized it is a Truman Show, you can't really get suckered into being emotionally entangled in these various psyops. And so by I think building this separate media, I think we have, as far as into the future goes, I think we have a pretty clear path that we're going to be untriggered and calm, and we're going to have the most information. And we may be, I guess, the least manipulatable of all people as well. It's a cure. It's this is mind war inoculation.
Yeah, you always have really good phraseology and really good you come up with your own, vocabulary, your own sayings just to, separate yourself, I suppose, from the mainstream, which is valuable. We need
Well,
our
they
own
control
language.
us with words. They control us with definitions and words and labels, and they limit thought with bad explanations and bad reasoning. And I realized that they don't give us the tools that we would need to find our way out of this labyrinth. They don't give us any clues. They don't hand it to us. They hand you misinformation. So I realized we have to have terms to define things. So they give you the term, oh, it's a false flag. Well, you could chase false flags for 20 years and you're just a scared truther. You're a propaganda mule. So we had to say, no, these aren't false flags. These are simulations. These are hoaxes. These are simulated events. But we need to expand our terminology because they give us a limiting framework if we just go with what they hand us.
There was another, Substack I saw. Oh, yeah, if you wanna call in, well, you can call in on the, Discord. Derek wants to talk, so, I'll just patch Derek in now through my Discord here. Because he has something he wants to say, I guess. Hopefully the audio from the Discord didn't get screwed over. Let's see if Derek is there. Derek, can you hear me? Derek, hello. Okay, well.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Derek, say hi to Tim Ozman and Frank the Salt Guy.
Frank, Tim, how you doing? This is Derek.
Well, Derek, how are you?
Good, not too bad. I'm just calling in to talk about the thing with the fires. I just saw on BitChute, there's a commercial with Mel Gibson calling the fires out as some trickery going on, basically. Like,
Okay.
he actually has a commercial. The thing is so orchestrated, it's ridiculous.
So it's the Mel Gibson Fires commercial?
Yes, I think it's about the Palisades. But it has that scary music at the beginning, and it's really trying to pull on your heartstrings. But I just couldn't believe it. I mean, are you kidding me?
Well, I'm not
But
really
that's all I
following
really
good
wanted.
old Mel Gibson, but yeah, he's being accused of spreading conspiracy theories on
Yeah, he's going to be
the California
guy.
fires.
And of course, he played the role of a conspiracy theorist that went mad.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, with
That's right.
Julia
And-
Roberts, right?
So,
Okay, so
they, as Tim says, they always use the characters.
yes, these guys are always involved in psyops and in like Mel Gibson is in that movie Patriot, where he sits on a rocking chair, and I think he says it's like 9 pounds 11 ounces. He sits on it and it breaks, and then they get invaded. So and then he's in the conspiracy movie, and Trump just appointed him to be the ambassador to Hollywood.
What?
And of course, he's hugely popular in the Q community. And then he's Braveheart. And Trump has been associated with Braveheart, if you look at the iconography of the fake shooting. So, yeah, Mel Gibson is also the director of Passion of the Christ with Jim Caviezel, big Q person. So, yeah, Mel Gibson is firmly ensconced within right-wing conspiracy culture. And he's obviously going to take the position that it's not climate change. This was done by the government. This was done by sneaky Newsom or something. But, yeah, he's totally playing a role, in my opinion.
And of course, they've always had the long-standing meme of life imitating art, but art imitating life.
Yes, I say this a lot too. I think it's an important concept because it's you can say, well, look, life is imitating art. Life is imitating Netflix. And what I change is I change life to the fake news or psyops. So psyops imitate art, or psyops follow art. Fake news follows art. Because the stuff that mirrors the media is all fake and always has been.
Yeah, I'm looking at Derek. The bot does not. The bot says that Mel Gibson does not have a TV commercial. So, what exactly are we talking about?
Well, it was on BitChute, so it might just be a BitChute commercial. But
okay,
it's a commercial with the fires, and he's in it talking to somebody on the news. It looks like he was talking live to somebody. But
I think I saw that, Derek. I remember what you're saying.
I mean, maybe somebody had clipped it and put it together, but I mean, it looked like an official commercial. But I could be wrong. And the other thing I wanted to say was the CEO shooting. How about that guy never even existed? I mean, he kind of looked goofy in the picture, and apparently that's the only picture they had of Brian Thompson.
I looked into that one, and I did find older video of Brian Thompson from like 10 years ago or something. But so it could be a number of things. One, maybe he got tapped and said, hey, we have a deal for you. Or he could have been a construct altogether, an actor. But there's a physical person playing that role. But in my opinion, the entire thing was scripted and scheduled to happen. That Luigi character gives it away. There's so much about the Luigi character that is straight out of Netflix, straight out of Joker. And the public response was completely manipulated, where it was just like green light to cheer on the murder of a CEO for the left because of this hero that they all wanted to make babies with.
Let's just add to the point about the selection of CEOs to companies. I don't think for the last 30 years that a chief executive of a big company has come from the company that he's working in.
They're all outsiders.
They're all parachuted in.
Okay, is this maybe this is well? Let's share this video.
What do a
Maybe this
neurosurgeon,
is what
a country artist, and a television and radio
really
host
gone
have
to
in
pot
common?
with these damn
They all saw
commercials,
the writing on the wall.
and I can't even
Bank
do
sharing
that.
your finance.
Check out our new chat
Wow,
feature for
2
live streams.
commercials on
Support
YouTube
creators
now.
with chat bombs. Try now.
Wow. Hold on.
Well, you know, I know they were messing with the water, letting reserves go for one reason or another. They've been doing that a while. California has a lot of problems that sort of baffle the mind as far as why they do things. And then in the events like this, you sort of look, well, is it on purpose? Which, it's an insane thing to think. But one begins to ponder whether or not there is a purpose in mind. What could it be? You know, I don't know. Do they want the state empty? I don't know.
Oh, Mel. He's
Wow.
such a good actor.
He is so the appointed conspiracy guy. He is the conspiracy guy, the go-to guy. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
He's
Yeah, he's saying all the right keywords and everything, you know.
Oh, good old Mel.
Crazy.
All right,
I
we
have
got
to say, Armin Rai has put a comment in here. Billy Joel came out denying claims that he started the fire.
Oh, that's funny.
I love
Yeah, he
that.
wrote a
Yeah, how
song.
about and how about Tom Hanks saying on SNL that he never had COVID? I mean, they
Yeah.
just keep rubbing everything right in his face.
Yeah.
Did he really?
I think I saw that.
Hey, Derek, I got a caller inner here.
Yeah,
Okay.
you damn right, Alvarado. You have a color in here. How's the mic?
You're okay. Say hi to Tim Ozman, Frank the Salt guy, and we can
You already know what.
you can even say hi to Derek because he's on the line.
Yeah, we don't know who Derek is, Alvarado. We know you have. This is Tommy Lee King the third checking in. Tim Osmond, how are you doing tonight, player?
Hey, what's up,
we
Tommy
got
King?
through him.
Yeah.
All right, I'll let you go.
Thank you, Derek.
Have a good night,
Hey,
guys.
Derek.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
one, Derek. There goes
Right,
Derek.
all right, you're getting out of here. You're getting out of here. We're running promos tonight. We're running big things popping tonight. We got fires around the West Coast. We have El Nina coming in to freeze my ass in the Dakotas.
Yeah, are you starting the polar vortex in the North Dakota? I think we have a couple days before you're going to unleash it on the rest of the country or the North America.
I'll say it like this. We had about 2 days ago where it was 20 below. My pickup, my Silverado, did not want to start. I haven't plugged it in. Do you guys have block heaters in your provinces or your states, wherever we want to talk? Because tonight, Tommy King wants to talk about El Nina.
Okay,
Wind
El
gusts
Nina
that are
is old
coming in.
news. Is El Nina still a thing?
It's coming. It's coming.
All right.
It's coming.
Well, as
Well,
long
what
as
do you guys got? What are we calling it? Is the polar what do we got to call it? The Alberta Clipper?
I have no idea. It's just polar vortex. They do pre-advertise the weather now. I don't. Tim Osmond, do they pre-advertise the weather? Do they tell you what next week's weather is going to be where you live? Because they do that here.
Never with any certainty whatsoever. You can't make any predictions based on it ever. But we're supposed to trust the climate models that tell us what's going to happen in 20 years. So no, not reliable at all. And this weather thing is not going to go away. Fire NATOs, I don't think they existed until the movie Geostorm came out and introduced them. So no, the weathermen are fundamentally useless.
All right.
Hold on 1 second. 1 second, gentlemen. I do love where we're all coming in from. But at the same time, Osman, you already know I honestly might be a bootlicker to you. You're not going to tell me that this not real, bro, because I'm going to tell you right now, it's about to get so cold where I'm at.
Yeah, well, Tommy, it is winter. It does happen every year. Just to let you know.
Gentlemen, I love this because I'm assuming you gentlemen are in the East Coast, correct?
Yeah.
So what's going to happen is I'm going to get windswept through the Dakotas,
Okay.
right? And it's going to get negative 40. Still still air.
I know it's cold,
This-
Tommy. I know it's.
Oh, I love this. I love how you're down.
Hey, Tommy, we're gonna have to let you go because you're breaking up real bad. You're really hard
I
to
do
hear.
know that.
I think
what
your
I'm gonna
line
do
is
is
frozen.
You son of a biscuit. You son of a biscuit.
Tommy,
I love you.
All right.
My BlackBerry is frozen.
Back in.
Tommy, thanks for calling. There goes Tommy. I get the chat was getting a little antsy with the caller there. Wasn't quite getting to the point fast enough for the crowd. We have a very tough crowd here. Well, we've been going about an hour. We'll go another 10 minutes, Tim Ozman, if that's okay. I'm sorry we started late because I can't get one browser working as it always does until tonight. Conspiracy, I don't know. I don't think so, but I don't like to put conspiracy where they don't exist. What else you tracking, Tim Osmond, on minds.com/Infinite Plane Society? What else are you?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. One of the things I've been monitoring is just how the people are misinforming themselves. They're complicit in their own brainwashing. And there was a story about these multiple people on fire and it was going viral. Like, oh, people are on fire. Well, it turns out that they were misreading a code there for Malibu, California, where the code was PP on fire, which meant power poles. But some people thought it meant people. And so it goes viral that there's 9/11 calls, multiple people are on fire, didn't even happen. But the truth gets out. I'm sorry, the rumor gets out there, it gets spread, it gets reacted to, and the truth gets out and nobody's paying attention anymore because they got their hit. It's like they got their hit of this like media rush. So I've been observing mostly the fallout from this Los Angeles thing. And Mel Gibson comes out to call it an inside job, basically. And when you have a partisan take on any big thing, it's got to be a bifurcated psyop, real or not. As far as the fires go and the smoke and the pyrotechnics, there's aspects of it here where it's being driven by the psyop entertainment complex. And I like what Miles Mathis had to say about it. But that's been my main focus recently is the fire. The next big thing, of course, is Trump getting into office, and Trump's having a rally on the 19th, which is a very ominous date. It's the Donnie Darko date, and Donald Trump is Donnie Darko. So 119.
119. 19 is
It's a
very big number.
potential. It's a potential opportunity for would be
Fake shootings, fake assassinations.
yeah.
Okay, let's look at that. I don't track the Donnie Darko story. Is that a movie character? I'm sorry.
Yes, it's
Yeah,
a movie.
okay, Donnie Darko came out pre 9/11 on 119. Copious 9/11 predictive programming. The director's father works for NASA's like Viking program, so it's already interesting. It contains a lot of predictions for like 2020, and then you had Leave the World Behind that came out last year, and one of the characters was basically based on Donnie Darko. So the Donnie Darko character is a way of referencing Trump and his confrontation with the deep state. So it's a pretty deep connection between Trump and that character that's been really well analyzed. And someone in the chat asked me who did 9/11. 9/11 was done by the PSYOP Entertainment Complex. It was a movie. If you're chasing a scapegoat, like it was the reptilians or it was Israel, no, it wasn't even Islam. 9/11 was directed by Stanley Kubrick, if anybody, but it was a production by government-controlled media for your brainwashing purposes. That's all. I should add nobody died, but we know.
I agree with that. That's we. This may be one of the only other sites that says the same thing. That the people they say died are very simmy, and there is a Vic Sim report out that doesn't get a lot of coverage, but it's well worth looking into, and also clues for him. Yeah, it says here, Perplexity AI bot says, yeah, you're right, January 19th at 3 p.m. This is part of the official inauguration festivity leading up to January 20th. So yeah, we're going to get some more Trump rallies. That is his specialty, rallies.
But for people listening that may not have heard this before, the number of people that died in the state of New York and the city of New York in the years before and after 9/11 didn't change at all. It was about 190,000 each year.
Right, about 400 a day, and there was no
change in that statistic.
Yeah, and let me
recorded.
add this, because one of the commenters in here is saying who planted the explosives. I would say you're asking the wrong question, because it wasn't a terror attack. It wasn't anything more than a controlled demolition, but it was dressed up with drama and special effects. Same
Of
thing
a
I'm saying
building
about
that was
California.
due to be demolished.
Yep. And one more thing, there were 88 drills, the NRO, 88 mass casualty drills for a terror attack carried out that day.
Wow.
That means there's more than 1,000 live casualty role players in place, which means dozens and dozens of closed movie sets all around. So no, the whole thing was a movie. No victims other than the psychological warfare aspect. There weren't any jumpers. That was also fully explained. And as far as who did it, the PSYOP entertainment complex isn't a who done it question. It's a what is it question.
Yeah, so look, I'll see how the bot is my new favorite thing, Tim. I don't know if you're a bot person, but I like playing with the bots because they really save on well, obviously they collate search results over my favorite sites, mainly Wikipedia. And it says here, based on the search results, there were at least 2 known drills or exercise planned or underway in New York City on September 11th, 2001. One was Operation Tripod. This was the bioterrorism response exercise scheduled for September 12th. It was set up to test the plan for distributing antibiotics to the entire city population during a bioterrorism attack. This exercise was canceled when the real attacks occurred, but the preparations for it proved useful in the actual emergency response. And the only other one it says here is the National Reconnaissance Office Drill. This exercise simulated a small aircraft crashing into one of the agency's headquarters buildings. It was canceled as soon as the real attacks began.
So in other words, crisis actors could have died that day. Because
Yeah.
you had drill actors performing stuff and they could have been killed by the real thing. Give me a break. And so to answer the question of what is it, it's the creation of a contemporary myth that reshapes geopolitics for generations. These are transformative psyops that steer the major news narratives. This is how they build our worldviews. So no, this is a psychological operation, but beyond that, it's world view manipulation on a mass scale, and it synchronized every single person on Earth with this agenda.
But do you think it's reasonable when people hear what you've just said about the drills for them to maintain their non-skeptical view of the 9/11 story? I mean, I just don't think it's reasonable.
It's not.
People accept that level of coincidence.
It's not.
But I know that they do. But I do think it's just unreasonable.
It's definitely unreasonable because that's the design. The world stage is a place of subjectivity where many different contradictory belief systems can coexist because the believers are in darkness and they can chase any number of rabbit trails or political ideologies. They'll never get to the truth. The knowers, the manipulators, rule over the people who live in darkness, and you can't even reach people. People who believe the news are media fundamentalists. They're in a cult. And the only people who I think are reachable are the ones who've already gravitated towards trutherism because they intuitively sense, or they just common sense recognize they're being lied to. And then the question is, do they get the truth or do they line up behind some controlled opposition platform? And that's been the standard for decades is people don't trust the news, but they line up behind controlled opposition. And I think what we represent is the first alternative to the fake alternative to ever really emerge.
And also it says here, additionally, while not specifically a drill, it's worth noting that the New York National Guard had been conducting regular evacuation drills of the World Trade Center every 6 months prior to September 11th, 2001. These drills involved designating fire wardens on each floor who were responsible for organizing and managing evacuations. These planned exercises and regular drills likely contributed to the overall preparedness of emergency responders and building occupants, which may have helped save lives during the actual attacks. However, the unprecedented scale and nature of the September 11th attacks still presented unique challenges, blah, blah, blah.
Somebody's asking who planted the bombs. I'm going to ask who puts the fake blood on the crisis actors?
Yeah.
Who drags the rubber bodies out there? The art department, probably Gelatin B. but it's the art department. I think people get lost on the idea that it was an attack. It's like, oh, the buildings fell. No, it was an art piece. It was a controlled demolition. It doesn't matter who did it. It was the PSYOP entertainment complex, which means it's a military operation. Fundamentally, the mind war that we're being subject to is a military operation, but it's run by the government. But it's really, I think it's not really a whodunit. It's a what is it? It's a PSYOP. If you think it's a whodunit, you might be saying, well, maybe this country sneaked in and put the bombs there. No, this wasn't like we were sneak attacked. Nobody was sneak attacked in this. That's the big lie. This is a global event. It wasn't just in New York. This is global media, and there's only one government from my perspective. It doesn't make sense to talk about multiple governments at this point.
I agree.
I'm trying to prod it to find 88 drills, and it was able to get a couple more. Vigilant Guardian, a NORAD exercise that had been running for several days in conjunction with Global Guardian. And Global Guardian, an annual command level exercise organized by United States Strategic Command. So there you go. So the bot often needs prodding, but yeah, we've done a lot of research for all the new listeners on 9/11. That's really why this website was started. And
let me say one more thing. I hate to interrupt, but someone in the chat, they're trying to get me to say it was Israel. I'm like, no, if you think it's a whodunit, you're going to chase a red herring and you're going to be in the dark for decades, like every other 9/11 truther who's gone that route. So no, I totally reject the idea that this was done by a different country. There are no different countries. There's one government. There's a monolithic control over all media. The space program proves this. The ubiquitous agreement on climate change and nukes and fake weapons of mass destruction all underscore this fact. So no, it makes no sense to say who did it when you don't recognize it.
I think there are very few companies that are capable of demolishing a building of that scale with that precision. So I think we know that they're professionals, and I can also say to you that those companies are operated and run by well-trained ex-military personnel.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And I've met them at the pub, my Geelong pub, because a team that came out to demolish Australia's largest coal-fired power station and blow it to shrapnel were passing through Geelong on the way. They're all ex-British Army experts that had been pulled in after the first attempt to demolish it had been not so good.
Yeah, I'd agree. Controlled CDI, Controlled Demolition Incorporated, is one of the biggest. And if I had to guess, I've always said that they would have been the ones to do it.
The demolition was done expertly. There was no, it came down in its footprint and everything went well.
CDI Loiseau, and their headquarters is in Phoenix, Maryland. And Phoenix is literally just a post office box at an intersection. They call it Phoenix. And
there's some interesting connections between Gelatin B, this art group that was living in the Twin Tower, one of the towers, throughout the year. And they had an art show presentation that they were going to reveal on 9/11. We never saw it. But we do know, while they were up there, they built a structure so they could film outside the tower. They removed a window. So it seems like that group likely did the jumper footage. And what's even more interesting about it is that in Fight Club, there's a scene where they're talking about wrapping the columns of buildings in explosive gelatin. So Gelatin B, gelatin. And in that Fight Club sequence, they're showing the Century City Twin Towers while they're talking about this. And the architect of the Century City Twin Towers also did World Trade Towers. So that's a big reveal there as well. But it was done in advance.
Can I say, Tim, I think that, in my opinion, Simon Shack's view, that the whole thing was shrouded by military-grade smoke operation. And any films you see of people falling were not taken on the day. They were done at some other time.
Agreed. And I have personal experience with that military fog generators. I was a 54 Bravo. We did this stuff at Fort McClellan. And these smoke generators can sustain concealment for as long as you have the generators on. And it has the ability to block visuals, but also lasers. You can't do drones. And you can move personnel and equipment. So it's like you put out the fog. Now you just go and you put the props. You put the plane engine here on the street. You have it's like pitch black, but it's just pure white. And I do think that 9/11 was making plenty of use of that fog, and they kept hyping up the smoke and how dangerous the smoke was, and people are dying from the 9/11 lung. No, that's just a
Yeah.
cover for the military fog.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're seeing on the screen right now. Someone asked, "How did they lay the explosives?" Well, you just saw how they do it. They bore holes and insert the explosive, and you get this. This, for me, this never gets old. Watching the art of demolition, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And pretty quick. And the only difference is this is only 6 or 7 stories, but the Twin Towers were 101, which indeed would be a much bigger enterprise. But considering they probably had at least 10 years since the place was evacuated since 1993, or sorry, 8 years. That's a lot
Good
of time.
point.
That's
and
a lot of
by
time.
all indication and all the symbolism that builds into it, these things were built to be destroyed. They were built starting in 68, pulled down 33 years later, all part of a symbolic ritual. And what they did was they performed this theatrical event, which became a contemporary myth, and it created this war. It created the narratives that would really guide the major psyops for the next 20 years. And now nobody's talking about jihadis or any of these things. The war on Islam of Islamists versus the West, like that's all kind of in the past now. How quickly we forget. But they use these events to set the stage, and I just look at it as a contemporary myth with fireworks and special effects and a whole lot of crisis actors.
Crisis actors for sure. That's it's a big troop, very big troop. All right, well, we've been going about an hour, and I think this was a good check-in. It was a good joint. We have over 200 people on the stream listening and watching, and I always like doing these meetups because it's just fun to use technology to bind two platforms together and get a large audience. And obviously, Tim Ozman, you've been very consistent. Your audience is continuing to grow, mainly, I guess, thanks to your YouTube channel. The your original YouTube channel seems to get most of your viewers, so that's excellent.
Yeah, I'm glad you had me back on so we can catch up. And 9/11 is relevant because we're looking at a similar event that, and Jay Leno was comparing Los Angeles to 9/11, but I'm saying that, like, in terms of the extent of a psyop and everything they do with the actors, the embellishments, it's all there. So yeah, I'm glad we could catch up, and let's definitely do this again soon. And I will be possibly live later on tonight. So if anyone wants to get on my newsletter, it's IPS.monster, and I do send out live notifications.
I have to say the big thing I got out of this discussion was finding out that there's a big rally, just before the inauguration.
Well, there's always a rally. Trump has obviously taken the last couple months off of his daily rallies. I don't know how an almost 80-year-old can do it, but yeah, it looks like we're back in rally mode the day before the presidency. Let's hope he does some work and not just rally the whole 4 years. But I'm sure, if nothing else, it'll be very exciting. It'll keep Tim Ozman of IPS.monster extremely busy. It'll keep us on our toes. 2025 has already started with a bang. I think most truther channels would agree to that, and it'll keep us talking. Yeah, I agree with Tim. I think what we do is valuable. I know, Tim, you've called it conspiratainment before. Are you just there to entertain, do you figure?
No, I think the entertainment's part of the weapon. They entertain you with fear, holding your attention. But I think that it's the PSYOP entertainment complex is their primary weapon. It's primarily mind war. And that's what my focus has been. And it's certainly entertaining, though. It's entertaining if you recognize that it's not real. Because if it's real to you, it's horrifying. So thanks again. Appreciate you having me on. And thanks again, Franklin.
Yeah.
Thanks. No, appreciate you allowing me to join your chat, Tim. Fantastic.
Always. All right. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Everyone, don't forget, everyone here is an independent content creator, including Frank, although he doesn't solicit donations. But we're not looking for donations. We're looking for an exchange of value. So Tim Ozman does a lot on his channels, and you should definitely go to his Patreon. Where's your preferred value for value exchange, where do you prefer, Tim?
I send people to ips.monster. It has all the links there if they want to donate and support or if they want to join. And you can just join for free if you just want the live notifications. But it's the easiest thing. It's the hub, ips.monster. All the links are there to stay in touch. And so thanks again for everyone listening. I'm glad we had a good turnout. And everyone subscribe to Fakeologist.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, IPS. Thank you, Frank. And thank you all. We'll see you on the next show. Take care, guys. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Thank you.